ousted from her job. And in that way, this Monirani Das lost her job and earning of 2000 per month. And she is at the verge of starvation. So I would like to set a tone. So whether that this news has not come in any media, so in that case, can we call that media is active or there is media activism? Probably not. So what should we call it? You will be finding that there are some good news like today G20 summit that occurred in Tripura. So that got wide publicity. But ultimate yield, what is the yield from that? If we ask ourselves, time will say what is the yield. But this Monirani Das, she lost her job. She lost her means to live. But nobody is bothered. So here comes the role of media. This is your duty. There are thousands of Monirani Das or Monirani Koloi or Monirani Deburma in different corners of Tripura. Those who are suffering for this or that reason. Here I am straight away talking about post-poll violence or post-poll revenge or post-poll vendetta. But we just cannot ignore. So it is your duty to bring into fore, to winch into fore the stories of these poor people. That is media activism. But what we are seeing now, we are seeing selective media activism. I would call that selective. Because media only gets attracted to those issues which raises TRP. So I hope in this symposium or workshop, whatever we call it, we will be discussing in detail about the aspects not only of active media but also selective media activities. That also need to be touched. Until and unless that is touched, Monirani Dashes will always be in oblivion. So this is number one. It is not that media had not been active. I am a practitioner in the High Court and all other courts, as I have just now introduced myself. I can tell you just one story. This inaugural speech I know. I won't be taking much of your time. I will be just giving you some example that if media is active, how things can go orderly in the society. What happened? I am just giving you one example. You all must have heard about that famous or infamous case of MLA murder case, what it is popularly called, the murder of MLA Parimal Shah in 1984. So after 33 years of his murder, the culprits were booked under law. In that case, one judge was supposed, retired judge was supposed to give witness. On the morning of his day of deposition, one day prior to the day of his deposition, some hooligans dropped in his house and threatened him that, sir, better if you don't go. We can very well understand who were the persons or who might be those persons, those who are going there and threatening the witness not to depose in the court. And then he informed me. Myself happened to be the special public prosecutor in that case. He rang me and said that I may not be able to go to the court to depose because this is the situation. My life is under severe threat. So then I called the police, I informed the police, but I was not having much faith upon the police. Believe me, I am speaking from my heart. So the next thing I did, I called my friends from media, and believe me, all of them jumped into fore like anything. And in the next day newspaper, it became headline that a witness in the form of a retired judge has been threatened not to go to the court to depose in a case. This is active media activism. This is the example. Because of the media, police had to arrange the security for that judge. The fearless judge, vis-a-vis the witness, went to the court, deposed, which ultimately resulted in conviction of 13 assailants of that MLA, who was murdered way back 33 years back. So media has got immense role to play. So in this symposium, I will be, in all probability, I will be addressing the students and faculties. So being a student of law, my role would be, first of all, to say about media activism vis-a-vis the selective activity of the media, which probably is not desirable. Because when we will be charting this topic, you yourself will understand that this may not be the proper way of pursuing our profession. Because You know, you people, those who are indigenous, we all know that this is a hidden, this is no secret, that you enjoy the benefit of reservation because of our constitutional provisions. But here, my friends, you won't be enjoying any reservation. You are on your own. You won't be getting any promotion. You won't be getting any salary hike because you are from indigenous class, because you are reserved community. Like I call myself a mongrel because every day we jump into the dustbin and earn our bread. We are free birds. So like that, you all are free birds. You won't be enjoying, you are not answerable to anyone, but at the same time keep that in mind. Keep the dictum of Article 19 of the Constitution, because Article 19 gives you freedom of speech. But the next question that comes, whether Article 19, that is the freedom of speech, is unfettered, does that mean that whatever, whenever I feel like to say anybody or somebody, it becomes absolute, or whether I enjoy that right? The answer is no. I just cannot say anybody or everybody whatever I feel like or whenever I feel like. There are certain restrictions in our freedom of speech. So while pursuing this profession, you all need to keep in mind, because nowadays we are seeing a trend, because you all will be highly educated, having master's degree in journalism, and you will be working in your field. But in our country, we have seen a section of media, those who are not educated enough, unfortunately. Maybe because of some constraints, they are not, and nobody bothers to educate them. With a mobile phone, they enter into a public person's vicinity or premises and say, I am a journalist, I can click your photograph, I can enter in your kitchen, I can enter in your bedroom, and I can take the news, if we call that news at all. That is not desirable. And I hope all the best to all of you. There are so many things which are perching in my stomach and also bubbling in my mind, but this is not the appropriate occasion. When I will be addressing you in proper time, definitely I will be raising. So with that, and a note of thanks to all those who are present off the dais, including the dignitaries, I would like to cut short my speech with the word that don't lose hope. You may not be enjoying the benefit of reservation being indigenous in this profession, but you can enjoy your freedom, because at the end of the day, it is the freedom which will keep us alive. Until and unless that is assured, democracy is of no meaning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for setting the tone of the workshop cum seminar. Your words were very informative and enlightening. Now, I would like to call upon the stage our guest of honor, Dr. Deepak Sharma, Registrar of Tripura University, to deliver a speech.
But before we do so, I also request Sri Purna Chandra Jamatia, Honorable Chief Executive Member, TTAADC, to kindly felicitate Dr. Deepak Sharma with a resha. Sir, please. Thank you, sir.
A very good morning to all of you. Professor Ganga Prasad Prasai ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of this university, who had to leave for some pressing engagement, but it is always good to begin mentioning the head of the family. Chief guest of today's event, Shri Purna Chandra Jamatia ji, Honorable Chief Executive Member TTAADC, Shri Paul Tangbushi, Honorable Member of Legislative Assembly of Tripura, resource persons from Jamia Millia Islamia and Kolkata, Professor K.S. Kusumaji and Dr. Uma Shankar Pandeyji, Shri Sanit Devraiji, who is my predecessor here, and currently he is the editor of a leading newspaper in Tripura, Aaj Faryad. The organizers, especially Dr. Sunil Kalaiji, convener of this program, HOD, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, dear students, research scholars, guests, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to convey my heartfelt greetings to the Department of Journalism and Shri Sunil Kalaiji especially for convening such a wonderful academic event on a very, very topical theme that affects all of us, not just the journalism students or mass media, but each and every member of this community. I certainly don't have much to say on the on the media activism, because I really don't understand the word activism, whether it is positive or negative. If something is active, then and some pillar of democracy is playing some active role, it should be perceived in the proper context. But normally activism conveys some and I won't say negative, but it definitely suffixes the kind of functioning that media persons are discharging now. And my previous speaker, senior advocate in High Court of Tripura, has highlighted about that, and he has commented upon the responsible role that media should be playing in society. As a student of political science, I would like to share my understanding and a couple of points regarding this question of indigeneity. Indigeneity, that is the cause concerning indigenous people, is something which needs conceptual clarity because of certain fallacies that are attached to this concept, not only in the public perception but also in the academic world. Firstly, not necessarily all indigenous people are natives, and not necessarily they are the first. In fact, indigeneity has become and is a political concept. It's a question which group is more vocal, and this concept is not only related to Tripura or northeast or tribal areas in India, but it is something that is connected with the with countries worldwide: Australia, Canada, USA, Africa, other parts of Asia. This question of who is indigenous, and it's not only concerned with people, it's also concerned with culture, with your forest, with your biodiversity, with the way of life. But one point that I find common in the understanding of this concept of indigenous group in all in all the countries is that we have all been victims of colonialism. We have all been the victims of colonialism. It's because of colonial compulsions and reasons of geopolitics that some areas, some geographical areas They were ignored purposely because political agenda suited them. In India, especially from Northeast, a wrong picture was given of indigenous people or tribals as some having backward, some not connected with modernity, some not connected, and not only not connected, also a hindrance to development. Then after independence and even before that, Mahatma Gandhi wrote about them and he addressed them as Adivasis. But even then, only the socio-economic aspect was taken. It goes to the credit of current political leadership that the tribals are not conceived, they are not perceived as members of a backward community. They are proud culture of India. Janjatiya Gaurav Divas in one way, in one go. Pride was attached to the tribal culture. Not that they are the victims of, uncivilized this thing, but what should we actually perceive, and we need to correct our perception that a community which has pride of its culture and which has sacrificed so-called development for the protection of it, protection of the culture, protection of the traditions, protection of the language, protection of the customs. Should we call them backward, or should we look at ourselves and see what development has made us? If there is something called civilization, where do we stand and where do our brothers and sisters belonging to these areas stand? So we should be proud of that, and we should rather learn from India. From India should learn from tribal areas that how what India is learning today. Question of Atmanirbhar and question of self-reliance and self-pride. Local for vocal, vocal for local is the government of India agenda now. This has been the agenda of tribal people thousands years ago. They are connected with their land. They are connected with their customs. They are connected with their culture. They are connected with their economy, with the society, with their people. And they are ready to lose the benefits of so-called development for the protection of their own community traditions. But why is it that a wrong perception was given? Because people from mainland were not connected geographically, culturally with the tribal areas because of reasons of development. It is in this context that role of media is important. And now when you have